Alright, welcome back everyone for another video. So, I want to get the updates real quick here out of the way. Okay, because I keep trying to get this video over and done with, and it's just not going according to the way I want it to. So, let me first start with my last Bible study I have not done since my John redo one, or was it Genesis? Either way, my last video was about 2 months ago, and I have not done a Bible study since then because I've been just been doing kind of random videos here and there, and then I took a long time getting the topic video done. So I am back to doing my Bible study videos, and I am restarting it, but I am starting up with a new Bible study plan instead. So the Bible study plan I am working on is the Blue Letter Bible, Old Testament, New Testament together 2-year plan. So what that means is I would be doing alternating Old Testament, New Testament, starting from the very beginning. So, So for the Old Testament, I'll be starting at Genesis, going through Exodus to Leviticus, and so on and so on. Same thing with the New Testament. I'll be starting at Matthew, going through to Mark, to Luke, to John, and so on and so on. And it's a 2-year plan. So for 730 days, I will be working on this daily Bible study plan. And what I'm looking at doing is, I'm not going to do a Bible study video for you guys here on YouTube every single day to keep up with this. So I am definitely going to be behind on videos when I post them for you guys. But that means I will have plenty of content and plenty of time to work on my Bible study notes and stay on top of it and everything. So I will be doing a Bible study Friday, and I'm going to try and do both Old Testament and New Testament in one day, but I may just do one video, either Old Testament first and then New Testament next day. I'm not sure, depending on how in-depth these chapters end up getting. Like right now, Genesis is pretty short. I should have no problem to do like maybe Genesis 4 and 5 combined together into like one Bible study video. Now today I'm just going to do just Genesis 3 because I do still have to try and get Matthew 1 notes done so I can get that done tomorrow. As I get further into like Matthew and John and everything else, those videos might end up becoming just themselves on that one day, and I might have to save the Old Testament for like the week after that. On topic 2, last thing I want to mention too is my YouTube channel itself. I am working on improving my content. I am working on trying to improve my channel in general. So a lot of videos that are currently on my YouTube channel right now might end up getting deleted. And I mean like the old videos, like the old Bible study videos from John, Matthew, and Genesis. The really cringy ones, not the new redo ones. The redo ones I'm going to keep because I've actually improved on them, and I think they are probably the best. So for example, like John, I did John, what was it, John 1? Let me take a look real quick. Oops, wrong one. Yes, so like John 1. I did, the very first time I did the John 1 study, I did it in 2 parts. First part was like 22 minutes long. The second part was 31 minutes long. But then when I redid it, I managed to get the entire thing of John 1 in only 34 minutes. So I want to delete John chapter 1, part 2 and 1 and just get rid of them and just keep the redos and continue going on from there. I don't want the old ones. It's just kind of cluttering my YouTube channel, I think. Same thing with the Genesis and my Matthew videos. I want to redo them and keep it a little more tidy. I haven't looked at some of my other videos yet, but I do want to start trying to redo some of my old videos and improve the quality of them, and then get rid of the old versions, just so that I can kind of stay on top of my content and improve it and everything else. I mean, I'm not going to delete them from my phone. I'm going to keep them because I want to see how far I've come from when I first started recording up until now, but I don't want them on my actual YouTube channel where I'm trying to make a difference and I'm trying to actually keep it a little more organized. So that's what I'm gonna kind of work on doing. I'm gonna go over and watch pretty much all my videos again and just kind of make a decision of whether or not I want to keep that or not. So we're gonna go ahead and get into Genesis 3 today. Now, I don't really want to read all of Genesis 3 out loud. So I am just going to kind of give you guys a 20-second kind of pause for a moment where you guys can pause the video if you guys really want to and read all of Genesis 3, because I will have it up here on the screen for you guys to read. Just so you guys know, I am reading from the New King James Version. So if you guys want to read from a different version, then you guys are going to have to go and look up your own version. But just in case you guys want to, you don't want to go get your Bible out, or you don't want to do that, or maybe you just don't have your Bible with you, you guys can actually read it here on the actual YouTube channel. Like I said, I'm not really up to the standards of reading aloud right now. I've not slept today yet, and I am exhausted. It's been a really long day, but that's something for another day. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of get my study ready and give you guys 20 seconds to go ahead and read the Genesis chapter 3. Alright, so if you guys want to pause the video, you guys can go ahead and pause it. You guys can actually go back and read a little bit. But let's go ahead and get into Genesis 3 on the assumption that you guys have already read Genesis 3, or you guys have already paused the video and read it. So the general premises of this channel, why am I saying channel? The general idea of this chapter is the fact that the downfall and temptation of man. So, as we all know, the serpent is the devil, okay? And we know that for one key factor. Okay, so if you guys go to Revelations 12, if I can get it up real quick. I didn't want to be stupid. Oh, not see it. When I want to try and do something, it doesn't want to listen to me. It just wants to play around. Come on, now you just want to stick. Okay, so here we go. So Genesis 12:9. So it says, "So the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast out to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So it is saying the serpent of old, which is the serpent that's here in the Genesis. It is literally saying the great dragon, the serpent of old, is named Lucifer or the devil. So we know the serpent here is the devil, and he is the most cunning of all of the animals. Now, I'm not sure if it is referring to a physical serpent or if it is meaning a metaphorical serpent. My take on it is that it is referring to a physical serpent. I mean, that's my take on it. But for all we know, it could be a metaphorical serpent. But either way, the serpent, or the devil, manages to trick Eve, who hasn't even got her name yet. She's just woman, but just because we all know she's Eve, let's just call her Eve, okay? So the devil tricks Eve into believing that this tree at the center of the garden is not evil, and it is not. I mean, obviously the tree's not evil, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with her eating the tree, is what I mean. So he tricks her into believing that God is just trying to keep her from eating the tree because he doesn't want them to be like him and eyes opened and full of knowledge of good and evil. And she sees nothing wrong with knowing whether or not the whole entire facts about good and evil, so she eats of the fruit. Then she tricks her husband into eating of the fruit, and after they eat the fruit, their eyes are opened and they realize they're naked and they go hide. And they make themselves, I think they said it was they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves clothes because they were ashamed of the fact that they were naked. And then they hear God walking through the garden and they hide. And God asks them, how did they even know that they were naked? And asks them, did they eat of the tree of good and evil that they were told not to? And this is where you get the first blame game, or first pass the bucket. Adam blames Eve, who in turn blames the serpent, and the serpent is the only one who can take the blame for it because he's the one who started it all. So it goes from one to another, and it upsets God because this is the very first time that they've actually sinned, the very first time they disobeyed a order. He didn't tell them anything else. He didn't say that they couldn't do this or couldn't do that. He didn't really give them any rules except for one: do not eat from that tree at all. And yet they did. And so this is the consequences of them disobeying God's order, God's command of not eating from this tree. And so this whole entire thing, it starts this snowball effect of the downfall of humanity. And the fact that we are going to hell, and quote unquote why we are needing a savior, and why Jesus is our rescuer. So without this first sin, without them disobeying God completely, humanity wouldn't have needed saving, and Jesus' sacrifice wouldn't have been necessary. So this whole entire thing, like Jesus's crucifixion, his abuse that he suffered at the hands of all the people, the Jews, I think it was just the Jews, all of that would not have been necessary if this had not happened. And okay, oh yes, it is. So all of this would not have happened if the devil had not been in the garden and whispering little lies to Eve. So these are the consequences to each person. So consequences to the serpent, consequences to woman, consequences to Adam for eating of that fruit and for disobeying and being allowing sin to corrupt the hearts of humanity. So the first thing is he curses the serpent. So he tells the serpent basically that he's more cursed than all of the cattle. He has to crawl on his belly the entire time. He has to eat dust, and he's gonna put a wedge between him, the serpent, or snakes in general, and woman, because he's the one who tricked woman, and her seed and her everything. I think this is the reason why people are so afraid of snakes and serpents and everything like that, because of this. It is meant to put a barrier between the two of them, and comes back down to the fact that he's Lucifer, the serpent, is the very first one who tricked woman into sinning. And that's kind of one of the first things I've kind of noticed too. Woman was the very first one who started this snowball effect. Alright, so that's one thing I've noticed. Like, this is the very first sin, the very first incident, and woman and snakes are kind of not exactly hand in hand with each other. Then he goes to woman, Eve, and he curses her. I don't really want to. I don't like the term of cursed, but okay, so let's just say punishes. He punishes them. Okay, he goes to Eve and he punishes her, and he says that he will greatly multiply her sorrow and her conception. So the first thing I want to note is that women are twice as likely to get depression than men. So example, if you have 5 men and 5 women, out of the 5 men, you are likely to have 2 men who are depressed. 3 of them are not, or at least not severely enough to the point where it's going to be result in suicide. It's not going to result in the fact that you need medicine or any of that to where it's really bad. But the women, it is the complete opposite. Yeah, 5 women, you're more likely to have 3 women out of the 5 who are depressed. They are more likely to commit suicide. They are more likely to get on antidepressants. They're more likely to be extremely hormonal. Well, I mean, not really hormonal, but like their emotions can be just like a little bit out of whack, and their depression is going to be a lot stronger because of this, though. This is the main reason why women's depression is so bad. So, like, my depression can get pretty bad to the point where I literally shut everyone out. I don't want to deal with anyone else except for like my old man and my son, and sometimes occasionally I'll message people on my phone, but I am kind of more enclosed in myself. It gets pretty bad. But depression for, like, say, a friend of mine, their depression isn't as bad as mine because of the fact that their hormones, their emotions are just not as high as women. Okay, so the other part to women's punishment is conception. So we can have kids, but the baby's birth is going to be extremely painful. It's more painful than normal, to the point where guys just literally cannot handle that kind of pain. They can't endure it. They literally, I don't know how many times men have tried the simulation for birth, and they can never make it past a certain point because the pain is extreme. Okay, the pain that we can handle is the equivalent of breaking, I think it said, more than half of the bones in our body. And women are capable of doing that. But guys can't. So then God goes to Adam, and because he's the head of the household, and he told him not to eat of the fruit of the tree. Ooh. So he gets kind of punished a little more harsher, to an extent. I mean, correct, I think ours was kind of harsh too, but probably not to the extent of, I mean, okay, I'm not gonna compare. Okay, ours is pretty bad, guys is pretty bad. They're both pretty bad. Okay, that's not good comparing. But so he curses Adam to basically work the land, and he has to toil. He has to toil land. He's got to try and bring fruit of it. He has to literally work the land until he returns to the earth. So basically until he dies. And it's not going to be easy. Okay, working the earth is not easy. He basically is needing to sweat, and he's going to create herbs and bread, and it is going to be a hard life. But it's not going to be as hard as when it comes to Cain, when Cain's cursed. So we'll get to Cain later. I'm saying, Adam working the ground is not going to be as hard as Cain working. So that is their punishments. That is what happened for them disobeying God and creating the first sin into the world. So then Adam gave his wife his name Eve, because she was gonna be the main woman to create all women and the rest of the world. Okay, so God makes them. He makes them clothes out of leather, and then he basically kicks them out of the garden, and he puts an angel, which they call a cherubim, at the entrance of. He puts an angel at the east end of the Garden of Eden, and gave him a flaming sword to guard the way to the tree of life. So now they can't find the tree of life at all. And yes, so yes, so basically God is basically telling them that now. So he's basically telling them now that they've eaten the tree of life, their eyes are open. They are, in other words, behold, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil. And now lest he put out his hand and take also the tree of life and eat and live forever. So, in a sense, God is basically saying that we've kind of become like God. We do now know the difference between good and evil, and we're a little more like him. I mean, we're already a little like him anyways, but a little more like him now. But that is the general premises of Genesis 3. Okay, so we went from the temptation and the eating of the fruit of the tree to them realizing that they sinned and God punishing each one of them, the serpent, Eve, Adam, and then kicking them out of the garden to go onto earth, or I mean to the rest of the earth. And from there that goes to the rest of the book. I mean the rest of the Bible, And that is all of Genesis 3, So yes, I mean there's not a whole it's relatively simple, and it's definitely an eye-opener when I first looked into it, because now I kind of I get a more understanding of why why there's such an issue between people and serpents, and why women have such a hard time with our depression, why we have such a hard time with our birth, and why men feel like they have to work themselves to death. I mean, not literally work themselves to death, but why they have to feel like they have to work much harder than they actually need to. And that's because all of this is kind of engraved into ourselves now, from the very first moment. Okay, and it makes a lot more sense. So I'm gonna go ahead and start working on on Matthew 1. I am going to end up redoing Matthew 1, just so you guys know. As soon as I get done with Matthew 1, I am going to delete the old Matthew 1 and continue on to the next parts, and so on and so on. But, like I said, I am only going to be doing Bible studies on Fridays, so Bible study Fridays, and either on Tuesday or Wednesday, I haven't fully decided which day yet, I am going to do some kind of parent content on one of those days. And I have a couple ideas of what I want to do for the upcoming Tuesday for Bible content, but I'm not fully set on what it is I want to do just yet. So hopefully this was as eye-opening to you guys as it was for me, and I hope you guys will stick around to see more of the Bible plan I have planned, and maybe give it a try yourself, and we will see just how much we learn at the end of this, or even halfway through it and whatnot. So it should be fun. All right, I will talk to you guys in another video, and you guys have a great weekend. All right, bye guys.